put. We just found out. Oh man, that was wild. I went to go get up during our break, and all of a sudden, everything just went kaplooey. Anyway, we welcome you back to the show. Glad to have you with us. The phone number 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. As always, you could tweet at the show at the back page. Thanks to Austin Rodriguez, our producer engineer in Houston tonight, working on the show. Austin, could you even hear me? Like I was gone, huh? You couldn't even hear me, could you? Nah, I was just, I went to go get up. Some wire got loose and just everything went, it was gone. There was nothing. Oh, that was wild. So we were talking about Tom Brady and this is the joys of remote radio, doing shows outside of studios. Now this is what you get in that situation. We're going to talk with Jamie Eisenberg coming up in about 11 minutes, CBS Sports fantasy football expert. Do's and don'ts of Week 8 in the NFL as it relates to fantasy football. So I was talking in the last segment about Tom Brady, and what came to my mind after his divorce was announced earlier today. And the first thing was obviously sadness, profound sadness, because I know what happens in divorce. I've seen it. I've seen it with friends. I've seen it in my own family, and it's ugly. It's terrible. It's not anything that kids should have to be subjected to, any of that stuff. But the second thing that came to mind was the fact that I don't think Tom Brady's going to hang it up after this year. I don't think he's going out this way. I don't think he's going out. I hate to use this term, but I don't think he's going out a loser. And you know what I mean by this. I'm not calling the guy a loser. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That's not what I'm saying. He is the greatest quarterback of all time. Forget one of the. Doesn't need to be qualified or anything. But at the same time, you sit here and you start thinking, well, if the Giselle thing is no longer a hindrance to him continuing to play, and you've watched him play this year, he could still make all the throws. It's not, well, he's 45 and the arm strength isn't there, or, he can't still fit it in the windows. He can still do all that. His play hasn't been perfect this year, but he's had guys dropping balls left and right. There's injuries all over the place. They can't run the football worth a damn. And you start to put it all together after the divorce. I think Tom Brady's going to play another year. So then you start asking the question, well, if it goes south in Tampa Bay and everything just, doesn't go well for the Buccaneers this year, and Tom says, I want to keep playing, but I want to be in a situation where I can win another Super Bowl. Well, where is he going to do that? And there's one really good answer to it, because you got to think of a team that's ready-made to win a Super Bowl, and the only thing missing is a quarterback. I mean, I think the choice is so obvious, I could bring in my mom, who barely knows anything about football, and she'd be able to answer it. It's San Francisco. It's Brady next year playing quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Heck, if I were the Niners, I'd offer everything I have. Well, they don't have any draft picks left, so you can't do that. Could you imagine Tom Brady being traded at the deadline to San Francisco? I mean, they are 3-5. I mean, look, the Bucs are 3-5. If you're going to tank, all right, that's not going to happen. It's a dreamland. I get it. But next year, if Tom at 46, if he completes this season, and we still see him with the ability to throw the football and make the plays, could you imagine? He's a Bay Area kid. He's 45 years old, Jason. Same age as me. I could barely make it to the bathroom in time. Tom's throwing touchdowns in the NFL. How's that make you feel? Tom Brady to San Francisco next year, to me, seems as logical as anything. What do you think? 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at me at the back page. If you're not following me on Twitter, tonight's a good night to do it. Hit me up on Twitter at the back page. Tom Brady next year in a 49ers uniform? Sign me up. With that defense, just Christian McCaffrey there now, it makes so much sense. Be curious to know. I'd be curious to know what you're thinking on it. Live betting, we always do it in this segment every hour. Phillies and the Astros right now are in the bottom of the sixth inning. A 5-5 game. 2 outs for the Astros in the inning. Chad McCormick is at the plate. Zach Eflin is the pitcher for the Phillies. Runner on first. The live betting right now is Phillies plus 118. The Astros minus 150 on the money line. The value is obviously in the Phillies. And you've now had 2 out of the 3 starts for Justin Verlander in this postseason that were duds. So it'll be fascinating for me to watch if the Astros can pull another rabbit out of the hat and get a win in a start where Justin Verlander basically laid an egg. So that's the game we're watching for live betting in this hour of the show, the Phillies and the Astros. It'll probably still be going on in the next hour, the way postseason baseball moves at a snail's pace. But they are 5-5 right now in the bottom of the sixth inning. We will continue to keep tabs on it. On the basketball right now, Timberwolves lead the Lakers. Boy, oh boy. There's only 17 seconds left. The Lakers are down 109-102. They are going to be 0-5 to start the season. And this thing's got the real possibility of getting away from Darvin Ham so fast. I mean, we saw a situation, gosh, was it 10 years ago already? When Mike Brown was the head coach of the Lakers and got fired like just a few games into the season. Could we see the same thing with Darvin Ham? Could Darvin Ham wind up getting the gate this quick? I mean, what do you do if you're the Lakers? Nobody could say, well, it's health, it's injuries, they're about to go to 0-5. This is the Los Angeles Lakers. The Bucks are going to hold off the Knicks to improve to, I believe, 4-0 on the year. The Knicks will drop to 3-2. Bucks might be 4-0 or 5-0. I'm not sure. I think they're the only unbeaten left in the NBA. Knicks put up a fight, but Bucks are going to win it. It's 119-108 with just a few seconds left to go in that game. A lot of other games going on. Spurs and Bulls is a close one with under 5 to go, 113-112. Spurs putting up a lot of fight early in the season. Greg Popovich even said they were going to stink. Everybody's tanking for Wembanyama, and, well, somebody didn't give that note to the Spurs players. There's still plenty of time for him to stink, though. We're going to come back, do some fantasy football conversation. Welcome in Jamie Eisenberg, CBS Sports Fantasy Football expert, next on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Yeah, dude, let me tell you, it was crazy. Like everything, my board is a digital board, and it just froze up, and everything went kaplooey. Oh, I'm glad you got it. Okay. Yeah, we're all right now. All right, let's see. We roll along on this Thursday edition of the Cash In, SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. And in a year where it's been so difficult to predict the NFL, how much is that translated into difficulty in terms of picking fantasy players, for people like you who do this for a living?
It's been, I guess a little tricky to navigate. I don't know if it's been any more or less tricky than, let's say, the COVID year when, we had all those questions and the difficulties of figuring who's going to be in and out when even games were going to be played. So that was probably the most difficult year. But in terms of, just the on-field production or maybe lack thereof, there's the week-to-week guessing game. But, there's always that situation. We get to this point in the season with bye weeks and injuries, and you're trying to figure out who's in, who's out, who's playing well. Probably the strangest thing, to be honest, is to play because, in a league that's been trending that way, to see the way these guys have either A, struggled or just fallen off completely week to week. Thursday night you see Tom Brady, how bad he's looked, and what Russell Wilson's gone through, Matt Stafford, what he's gone through, Matt Ryan getting benched. It's just the as the changing of the guard, I think, is happening. You're starting to see these guys just completely fall off, which has been a little surprising.
Talking with Jamie Eisenberg, CBS Sports, does a great job on fantasy football. Is Saquon Barkley, I don't care what he cost, is he a must-have this week?
I would say so. I know you're talking DFS.
Yes.
So yes, he probably is on a weekly basis. There's a pretty good group of running backs for this week, which is one of the positions that I think has been a little surprising in terms of depth. So if you want to go a little cheaper, maybe get the same production in that same game. Ken Walker's been a star. Dameon Pierce is kind of defied matchups. We have some good options. I think a little bit lower in price. Raheem Mostert has a great dream situation against the Lions. DeAndre Swift is back. He's relatively priced. Given what the circumstances are. The free space this week is Tony Pollard because of Ezekiel Elliott's absence, but everybody's going to use him. But still, you never want to pass up on what great production could be. So it's a pretty good week for running back. So if you don't want to spend the money on Barkley as good as he is, as good as he should be, you can find some pretty good other talent at the same position.
Yeah, Pollard is definitely one, but I would imagine he's probably going to be in a pretty high ownership situation. You said Mostert too, right?
I do like Mostert. Yeah, I think you looked at what he's done. 4 straight games with I think it's 14 or more total touches, and he's really established himself as the go-to guy for the Dolphins. And the Lions have just been bleeding fantasy points to opposing running backs. Last week Zeke with his 2 touchdowns, Pollard over 100 total yards. For a combination in the backfield there. So. This game has projected over/under of 51. So we're going to see probably points on both sides, and I think the Dolphins give Mostert again another opportunity to be successful. This is also probably a game that he has circled because this was the game where he injured his knee last year for San Francisco. So I'm sure there's probably a little extra motivation for this matchup.
We saw Daniel Jones last week basically go, I think, for something like 300 total yards between passing and throwing the football against Jacksonville. Seattle defensively is not that great. Is Daniel Jones somebody, if you're going to go high at the running back position and try and save money at the QB spot, is Daniel Jones somebody you could do that with?
So if you're like me and you like to manipulate stats in your favor, you can have a fun one with this one. The Seahawks allow the most rushing production, rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. The caveat to that is the Taysom Hill game, because Taysom Hill had 3 rushing touchdowns and over 100 yards, not technically as a quarterback, but lined up as a quarterback. So it's over 230 yards to the position and 5 touchdowns. So they're top 5 without Taysom Hill there, and they're basically number 1 with Taysom Hill's numbers factored in. So Daniel Jones, 3 of his last 4 games, 67 yards or more on the ground. The one time he didn't do that was when he sprained his ankle and still played through the Baltimore game. So he's been doing a fantastic job, with his legs. I think the fact that he's got, at least an idea of what his receiving core is now, it sucks that he loses the rookie tight end, Daniel Bellinger, but Wan'Dale Robinson coming on, you saw that in the first half last week against Jacksonville. Darius Slayton's been a playmaker for him through the last 3 weeks. And so whatever he's able to cobble together from his receiving core, he's not going to help you with his passing to the level of a 300 and 2-3 touchdown type of game. But like you said, he can be, 180, 200 yards. He can be probably 60, 70, 80 yards rushing. And that's a pretty nice, situation for a guy that you're getting at a cheap price.
Can I put this one in the category of things we never thought we would be saying when week 1 of the NFL season started? Let's slot what I'm about to say into that category. Ready? PJ Walker as an option this week, as a bargain basement option this week.
He's not bad. I don't want to get overexcited about one game. It was the first game without Christian McCaffrey. I think we're seeing that this Tampa Bay defense is not the same. So, who knows how much of that was there. And I'm going to guess the Bucs probably thought they would just roll into town and, beat the team that just traded Christian McCaffrey 2 days ago and probably got punched in the mouth a little bit. He was absolutely atrocious 2 weeks ago. Now there's Baker Mayfield healthy, Sam Darnold looming. Not that those guys are the end-all be-all, but they carry a lot of weight with their names and what they're getting paid. So I wouldn't be surprised if Walker does struggle, that maybe we see Baker get thrown back in there. So just keep that in mind. But in terms of what his pricing is for DFS, the fact that the Falcons secondary is an absolute mess and their pass rush hasn't been good all season, there is an opportunity for him to have a decent game. It's just a matter of will PJ Walker turn into the guy that we saw last week, or will he turn back into a pumpkin?
Very good, with Halloween right around the corner. Jamie Eisenberg joining us, CBS Sports fantasy football expert. In that mid-level area, Kirk Cousins?
I like him a lot. He's got a good track record coming off a bye week. I always like to look at that when you got a veteran guy that's been around for a long time. So he's got a good track record. When he's had a week off. The Cardinals defense, I think a lot of people are going to look at it and say, okay, last week they were very good, but, a lot of that I think was Andy Dalton. So, we'll see what Cousins does. It's a daytime game. They're home. So don't worry about primetime Kirk. So, yeah, he's in a good spot. And, again, another game that's projected for a pretty high over-under total. So, I like that. If you want to go back just to P.J. Walker for another cheap option, Sam Ellinger, making his first start for the Colts. The Commanders are down Cole Holcomb, so they're down linebacker. They're going to use his legs. He did that at Texas. And so I think he's going to be a little bit of a surprise. He's $4,000 on DraftKings. I forget what he is on FanDuel. So just a pretty good bargain basement option that you don't even have to worry about stacking with anybody. And he can have, a decent day with his legs as well. But
if they're not going to throw it a lot and sort of ease him in, it's his first NFL start, does that then make Jonathan Taylor an option?
I would hope so, but I think a lot of Jonathan Taylor's woes haven't been on Matt Ryan per se. It's been a lot about that offensive line. So what we tend to see, you just go through history, running quarterbacks, they open up different rushing lanes for running backs. And I think that's kind of what the Colts have in mind, maybe give defenses a different look. And so, should Jonathan Taylor have a good game? Yes, absolutely. Anytime he steps on the field, he should. So, if people are going to be afraid of him because of the quarterback and because of the struggles, then he's a good, contrarian play for what Jonathan Taylor typically is.
Jamie Eisenberg talking fantasy football with him here on the Cash In, SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. DeAndre Swift making his return this week. Level of confidence?
He practiced in full. It's a shoulder injury and an ankle injury. If it's the shoulder, I'm not as concerned. If it's the ankle that's been bothering him for the majority of the season, then you always have to wonder about re-aggravation. But it's coming at the right time. They clearly need a little bit of a boost in the offense. Jamal Williams just fumbled going in for a touchdown last week, so maybe that takes away some of those vultures that he's taken, from the touchdowns away from Swift like we saw early in the season. He's such a factor in the passing game. The Dolphins secondary is a mess, so some things could be a little bit different there just because of how they defend the team. So yeah, I think it's coming at the right time. They've been much better at home than on the road for the last 2 weeks for them. At New England, that's the murderer's row schedule for a team that was missing a lot of key parts. So I think Jared Goff plays better. If you want to talk about another mid-level quarterback that could have a big game, I like him, and I do think that Swift is certainly worth your time and worth playing. Again,
something we never thought we would have said in week 1 of this NFL season that I'm now going to throw out at you. If Ellinger is the quarterback in Indianapolis this week, which he is, Michael Pittman Jr. to pair him up with?
So the thing that I did, one of the lineups I built was I didn't stack him with anybody just because I think, again, you're getting such a bargain basement price, and there's the wild card of Paris Campbell back-to-back weeks with double digits and targets and scoring a touchdown. Alec Pierce had that nice 4-game stretch before he came in. The thing that you always see, at least in the early stages of a young quarterback playing, who's he spend time with in practice? And it's not typically a guy like Michael Pittman because he's been with the first team. Ellinger's been with the second and third team guys. And so that could be Alec Pierce, as those guys probably work together in the preseason. Could be Paris Campbell. My colleague Dave Richard brought this up on one of our shows today that Kieran Grayson, their tight end, those guys were high school teammates. So if you want to go really cheap, you can go that route of the tight end and the quarterback and see if that connection pays off. So, there's a lot of different ways you can go with him. For me, the lineup I built, I did not stack him with anybody because I want to see what happens and, just put some other high-priced wide receivers there because he's so cheap.
If you're not feeling high on P.J. Walker but still want to bargain at the wide receiver position, whether it's Walker or if they bring in a Baker Mayfield or somebody like that, is DJ Moore an option this week?
He should be. Again, and this is a credit to P.J. Walker because he was finally throwing the ball down the field, and that's the guy he was connecting with. Double-digit targets is now the second time in 4 weeks that he's had double-digit targets. But the big thing about this week, or at least last week, was first game without Christian McCaffrey. So, maybe that was a byproduct of what the coaching staff told him to do. Don't challenge down the field, like Christian, go make some plays, throw some, bubble screens and short area throws to DJ Moore in that game 3 weeks ago. And then we saw last week, where it was just, okay, let's throw the ball down the field, and DJ Moore made some plays and looked like the DJ Moore of old. So I like the setup again. AJ Terrell is out for the Falcons. Casey Hayward's on IR, so their starting quarterbacks are not going to be there. If there's not an opportunity for DJ Moore to play, I don't know better one. Hopefully Walker gets more going this week again.
Spending some time with Jamie Eisenberg here on the show. CBS Sports does a great job on fantasy football, getting into some of the options that you should be looking at this week for your fantasy football lineups. At the tight end position, how do you feel about Juwan Johnson?
I like him a lot. The thing that concerns me a little bit is Adam Troutman practiced on Friday, and so he may return, and so there could just be a different, distribution of snaps and targets. The last 2 weeks for Johnson have been very good for Troutman's been out. It's easy to point to the Cardinals game, and they've just been terrible against tight ends. The Thursday night game where he had 5 catches, I think it was 42 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the game before, he had 6 targets and 4 catches, and so that's kind of the stat line I think you can bank on. It was another 4 type of day with the chance to score against the Raiders. They're 4th in fantasy points allowed to tight ends. So if Troutman's out and Johnson's good to go, he also showed up on the injury report with a hamstring problem. Without Michael Thomas, without Jarvis Landry, I think Juwan Johnson's a very good cheap option at that position.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I love trying to find bargains at the tight end spot because I just feel like every week, I've got 1 or 2 guys when I'm looking at that position. Are you surprised this year? So much was made of Kyle Pitts' ability. Are you surprised with his lack of productivity?
Yeah, frustrated more than surprised. I don't know how much of this is on him, to be honest with you. When your quarterback is throwing 13 passes and 14 passes a game, and the team is winning or at least being competitive, it's hard to say that the Falcons change things. And so, the thought would have been, at least my thought was going in that, they had a 31-year-old running back who's now injured. So, you kind of expected maybe a tail off there from Patterson. But a suspect defense, and hard for them to rely on the run game, and they're throwing the ball a lot in the second half of games. And so it doesn't make a lot of sense if this was your formula to just be so run heavy, to spend back-to-back top 10 picks on a tight end in Pitts, and then last year Drake London, and not feature those guys. And so, maybe they're just building towards something and trying to get everything set until they get their quarterback of the future, whether it's Desmond Ridder or somebody they get in the draft next year. But right now, their formula is working for them, and so it's just going to be, I think, frustrating all season long for London and for Pitts. And so Pitts is just somebody that you can't play right now in the majority league.
Before I go, Zach Ertz, is this one of those weeks where it's kind of worth paying up? He's 5,100 on DraftKings. Is he worth paying up given what Minnesota's done in against defending tight ends this year?
It's kind of a bad play because he's coming off, a terrible game, and it was the first game with DeAndre Hopkins. So, is the concern that Hopkins being there in the presence of, a shorter area target as opposed to Marquise Brown, is, a guy that plays a little bit more downfield, that Kyler Murray is not going to lean on Zach Ertz as much. I think last week, again, was a byproduct of their defense showing up, their run game showing up. This week, I think they're going to have to throw and get back to where they were a little bit earlier in the season. And so while the distribution of targets is different, the number of targets that go to Hopkins is basically the same number of targets that went to Marquise Brown. And so we get Zach Ertz going again. We get Rondale Moore going again, for example. Robbie Anderson's a little bit of a wild card after they traded for him, so we'll see how much he plays. But, I don't think it's a bad idea to go back to Zach Ertz, especially as a contrarian play. So I think people are going to be a little bit afraid.
Jamie Eisenberg, CBS Sports, does a great job on fantasy football. Thank you, my friend. Have a great weekend. May the fantasy gods shine upon you.
I appreciate that. You as well. Thanks for having me.
All right. We're coming back with more and wrap up this hour of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. We're going to have to replay that. Yeah, I'll explain what that's all about. Update on Mac Jones. We'll do Paige's picks too. Coming back. Stay with us. Another hour of the show starts right now. SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Page's Picks coming your way in about 20 minutes. Yes, Austin, that's me telling you to be ready for Page's Picks in 20 minutes. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at us at The Back Page. Again, on Twitter, at The Back Page, if you want to reach out during this hour of the program. Hello to our friends listening on The Freak 97.1 in Dallas. Good to be talking with you guys tonight. No Mavericks game, so here we are hanging out with you. Yeah, I haven't talked much about the Cowboys this week. It's been pretty quiet. I know the Ezekiel Elliott injury has been a bit of a monkey wrench, I guess you could say, but that's why you got to have two backs in this league. Remember the days when it was literally just like one running back and a fullback, and that was about it? Now you got two or three guys that can handle the load, and thankfully for the Cowboys, they've got a guy in Tony Pollard that is capable of handling the load. But I think, I think the best thing that could have happened to the Cowboys, by the way, and I'm going to give you a little heads up, a little clue about Page's Picks this week. The Cowboys, for a change, are not one of them, because there's no way I would lay 10 to Chicago coming off that performance. I know it's a short week and all that, but I wouldn't touch this game, because the Bears, I have no idea what to expect anymore after that performance in Foxborough against the Patriots. No idea. So the Astros get out of the bases loaded jam. They are 5-5 in game one of the World Series. Bottom of the seventh, 2 outs, pitching change for the Phillies. Suarez, I believe, coming in to pitch in a 5-5 game. Your betting lines on the money line right now, the Phillies plus 116, the Astros minus 148. As we continue, the NBA and spending limits, and an update on Mac Jones' high ankle sprain. Not the kind of update you might be expecting. That's next on The Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Stay with us. I don't know why teams continue to do this, but they do. The Phillies bring in a lefty to pitch to Yordan Alvarez. Has anybody looked at the stats? He hits better against lefties, if not as good as he does against righties. He hits everybody. Why are you switching to a lefty? I mean, it may work out in their favor, but my goodness. Unbelievable. They bring in Ranger Suarez to try and get the final out of the bottom of the seventh inning in a 5-5 game in Game 1 of the World Series. Man. Well, Suarez strikes out Alvarez, who, by the way, let this be said. For all the, magic of Yordan Alvarez in the first, series of this postseason, the divisional series against the Mariners, he has done almost nothing since then. I mean, his bat has been extremely quiet. So 5-5. Headed to the top of the eighth inning in Game 1 of the World Series. Boy, if the World Series coming out of a 5-day break needed anything, it needed this. It needed something to get people captivated, to, get people excited. And a Game 1 like this does just that. A Game 1 where the Astros led 5-0 and the Phillies came roaring back. Put up a 3-spot and then a 2-spot to tie the game at 5. Chance to steal Game 1, play with house money in Game 2. Whew. Man. I said Phillies in 6. There were a lot of people mocking me when I said it. One of our producer engineers, Brian McDonald, said, no. Well, now I'm telling you. You're starting to see this Phillies team just doesn't blink. It's as simple as that. They just don't blink. Anyway, we'll keep tabs on that. The game we're watching tonight, as far as live betting is concerned, we have our eyes on the NBA too. Some games going on there. Late in the fourth, Nuggets lead the Jazz 115-96. Rockets trailing the Blazers 69-58. Suns looking for a win tonight, lead the Pelicans 57-52. So that's what you got going on right now. Earlier tonight, the Knicks lost in Milwaukee to the Bucks. The Lakers went to 0-5. And I'm telling you, that is a highly volatile situation right now in LA with that team. Just not able to get wins. Tonight, losing on the road in Minnesota. They are 0-5. Paige's Picks is coming up about 10 minutes from now. So the NBA has this clause in its collective bargaining agreement with the Players Association, and it basically says you can opt out of the current collective bargaining agreement, and basically the current collective bargaining agreement could end after next season, not this season, but the 2023-2024 season. And both sides have to notify the other by December if they're gonna get out of the current collective bargaining agreement. And more times than not, they wind up getting out because everybody wants to try and get a better deal. Owners want to try and get a better deal. Players want to try and get a better deal. And more times than not, they stare each other down right until the end, and then you potentially have a work stoppage, and then they come up with some sort of plan that appeases everybody. But if the NBA sticks to one thing that they are now talking about, that Adam Silver is talking about. If the league and the owners take the tact of trying to basically implement a hard salary cap, well, you could have NBA Armageddon. Associated Press story today, the headline, AP sources, NBA seeking to tighten limits on team spending. The NBA wants more competitive balance and is considering an upper spending limit that would significantly tighten the rules on how much teams can spend each year on their roster. 3 people familiar with the matter said this on Friday. All spoke to the AP under the condition of anonymity, because obviously there's not supposed to be any details being made public in this sort of situation. But the reality is, the Warriors spent nearly $350 million this past season on salaries and tax, and are projected to spend another $360 million this season. And next year, to keep the team intact, they'd have to spend $500 million. And there's no saying Joe Lacob won't do it. So apparently the idea of a luxury tax really isn't doing what it's meant to do. The luxury tax was meant to keep teams from spending insane amounts of money. But if you're the Warriors and the payoff is an NBA title or all the extra postseason games, well, isn't it worth it for you to spend that money? Apparently they think so. Joe Lacob thinks so. And so this is problematic for the league. If you have 3 or 4 teams that are willing to say, we'll pay the tax, just send me the bill, versus some teams that simply can't afford or don't want to spend that much money. Now, to put that $360 million this season in perspective, that is nearly 4 times as much as San Antonio will spend, 3 times as much as the Memphis Grizzlies, and a bit more than double the average that the other 29 teams in the league are on pace to spend this year. And most of those teams, the AP reports, at least 20 of the 30 aren't in line to go into the tax this season as well. So this is problematic for the league. And there's no getting around it. And they've got to find an answer. But players will never agree to a hard cap. That's just, the NFL has a hard cap. It's really the only league that has such a thing. But NBA players, they will never agree to a hard cap. This game will have a stoppage. Now, this might just be a sort of a starting point to get to something else that's a bit more appetizing for the NBPA. But I don't know. Talks between, supposedly, according to players right now, that's a non-starter. The idea of any sort of, cap on spending is a non-starter. I'm sure Joe Lacob wouldn't mind it. By the way, before anybody says, cries poor here, the NBA had revenue top $10 billion for the first time last year. And basketball-related income reached $8.9 billion, which is another record. So they came out, let's just say they came out of the pandemic okay. Something worth watching. Today's sort of the first salvo in the whole thing. We'll see what happens. Interesting story that I did not expect to hear today. We know that Bill Belichick has said Mac Jones will get the start this weekend for the Patriots on Sunday against the Jets in what is basically a must-win at this point for the Patriots. Now, Jones is getting the start. He's not getting the vote of confidence of you are the starter for the rest of the year or the foreseeable future. He's basically getting a week at a time. Mike Giardi of the NFL Network, longtime reporter there, had a very interesting report about the high ankle sprain of Mac Jones. And I've never heard of somebody dealing with something like this, but Jones is apparently dealing with numbness in the toes of the left foot where he has the high ankle sprain as he continues to recover from that injury. Giardi said the numbness in Jones' toes didn't impact his on-field prep this week. Nonetheless, something we should keep an eye on for the game on Sunday against the Jets. Sat out multiple games. Bailey Zappi did a nice job, but then when Mac Jones got pulled from the game against the Bears on Monday, Zappi struggled. Again, Belichick really only giving him the vote of confidence for this week only. But no feeling in his toes. I guess you don't really need feeling in your toes, do you? Is it the whole toe? Is it just the tips of the toes? It's not like Mac Jones is Lamar Jackson and cutting and bobbing and weaving in the backfield and trying to juke, defensive players. But still, kind of a bizarre sort of side effect, I guess, if you will, of the high ankle sprain. We'll see what happens as we go through the next couple of days and obviously into the weekend. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show at the back page if you got a thought on your favorite team. 800-224-2004. The baseball game heads to the bottom of the eighth, game one of the World Series, 5-5 Phillies and the Astros. It's getting tense in Houston. Can the Phillies still steal game one? We'll keep our eye on it. We'll come back with Paige's picks later on in the hour. Matt Verderam joins us about 17 minutes from now. Fansided's national NFL reporter. We'll get some thoughts with him on the news of the day and of the coming weekend. We'll get into that with Matt Verderam. But stick around. Paige's picks right around the corner as we continue on the Cash In on a Friday on SportsMap Radio. You got the Pages pick stuff ready? Okay, thanks. Have you downloaded Jock MKT yet? If not, what are you waiting for? You can get it on your Android or iPhone. Jock MKT offers live daily markets for sports. It lets you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, all for real money. And each share is a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Bid on shares before the games in our IPO phase and trade shares live while the games are happening. All shares have a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. They're currently live in 36 states with more to come for NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, PGA, and NASCAR. All you got to do is head over to the Jock MKT app. If it sounds like stock market, by the way, it's because it's meant to. It's Jock Market. Instead of buying shares in Apple or Intel or Microsoft, you can buy shares in your favorite athlete every night and win money based on how they perform. Simple as that. And again, every share has a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. I got Bryce Harper and Yordan Alvarez tonight. Not doing as well as I probably would like to. Head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com and deposit with my promo code CASHIN to receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. So it's simple. You put in $100, you get an extra 100. Simple as that, no strings attached. Put in $20, you get an extra 20. But you got to deposit, be a first-time depositor, jockmkt.com or the Jock MKT app. Go there right now. Use my promo code, one word, CASHIN, and receive that 100% deposit match up to $100. And it gets better. Your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. So if you lose that money the first time around, they're going to give it back to you. jockmkt.com, promo code CASHIN on your first deposit, 100% deposit match, or do it on the Jock MKT app here on the Cashin. Matt Verderam joins us coming up in about 10 minutes on the program. Get some thoughts with him on this Week 8 in the NFL, what we've already seen to start the week, the mess that is the Buccaneers at 3-5, the mess that just is so many teams, the mediocrity in the league. I can't wait to pick his brain on it. We'll have that coming up for you in a couple of minutes. Right now, Astros and Phillies in the bottom of the 8th inning with one out, a base runner on board for the Astros on first, with the Phillies and Astros tied at 5, game 1 of the World Series. But without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. Week 8 in the NFL. It's Page's Picks. Yes. Cue up the band. Dun, dun. Yes. You are correct, sir. It's good stuff. Gets me in the mood every time. All right, game number 1. I said I'm not taking the Cowboys in their matchup at home against the Bears. Doesn't mean I'm not betting the game. Cowboys and Bears, yeah, the line is big, and so I'm not taking the Cowboys minus 10 points. But I do like the total of 42.5 to go under. There's no way the Bears are putting up more than 10 to 14 points against this Cowboys defense. And the Bears defense has been pretty good this year, so Cowboys could put up 24. I could see 24-14 Dallas. 27-13 Dallas. The 10 scares me. The total does not. 42.5, go with the under. Patriots and Jets. I said it when we did our early week check-ins on the lines. There's just no way. There's just no way that I can take the Jets against Bill Belichick. I know it's betting on reputation, and you're not supposed to do that, especially this year, because you've probably lost a ton of money if you've done it on Green Bay and Tampa Bay. But this time around, I got to do it. Bill Belichick owns the Jets. He is their daddy. And the Pats minus 2.5. I mean, could you believe this? The Patriots are 3-4. The Jets are like 5-2. And you've got the Jets as underdogs. It's just crazy. The Jets are underdogs at home. Pats minus 2.5. I'm going with it. Give me the Patriots minus 2.5 on the road against Gangrene. Colts minus 3 at home against the Washington Commanders. In Sam we trust. The kid's never thrown a pass in an NFL regular season game. I don't care. I believe we need change in Indianapolis, and we're getting change in Indianapolis. No more Matt Ryan. It's the Sam Ehlinger era. We're skipping over Nick Foles. The Colts minus 3. I think Taylor does some good things this week. Ehlinger makes enough plays. And the Taylor Heineke magic wears off on the road in Indy against a Colts team that's still very much in the AFC South mix. You'd think a team going to an unproven, unheralded quarterback would mean their season is in the trash can, but it's really not the case for Indianapolis. The Colts are minus 3 at home against the Commanders. I have every bit of the confidence that they will cover it. That's game number 3. Game number 4, Dolphins and the Lions. DeAndre Swift is back. Shoulder and ankle injuries have kept him out. And boy, without him, the Lions sure have struggled. I don't think that's the case this week. I'm not saying they're going to beat Miami because it's Detroit, and I think you'd be crazy to ever bet on Detroit as a 3.5-point home underdog. But I like the total at 51.5. I've been the guy that's taken unders all year. This one I'm going over. I think Miami's offense can kick it into another gear in the second week with Tua Tagovailoa getting more reps in practice, getting more comfortable and reacclimated with this offense. I think Miami's going to put up a big number. I think the Lions will too. 51.5 feels like a pretty safe pick for me. Dolphins and Lions in Detroit at Ford Field. Take the over at 51.5. All right, so here's our 4 picks for Week 8 in the NFL. The Cowboys and Bears under 42.5. The Patriots and Jets, Pats minus 2.5. We're going with them. It's a crazy game. I'm telling you. If you just got dropped from outer space and saw that Patriots-Jets line, you'd be like, huh? Colts minus 3 at home against the Washington Commanders is pick number 3. And the Dolphins and Lions over 51.5. Pick number 4. Keep in mind, I am 14-15 on the year. 14 wins, 15 losses. Nothing to be proud of, but we're not terrible. We just want to get over 500. Get on the right side of the 500 mark. We're going to try to do that this week with our 4 picks, Paige's picks, this week on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. So I can't tell you what it is yet. But we call this a tease in the business. Next week, we've got a really cool announcement coming up regarding Paige's picks, regarding anybody who loves to pick games. That's all I can tell you. But we got a really cool announcement coming up probably Wednesday next week on the show. I said one of the things I wanted to do with this program was sports talk and sort of a macro view of sports betting, not, crazy numbers-oriented programming, but some fun stuff on the betting side and still talking about the big stories of the day. One of the other things I was really passionate about doing with this show was gamifying it, giving you chances to win cool things. Next week, we continue in our evolution of the show that way. Matt Verderam joins us on the other side, NFL national writer for Fansided. It's on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I assume you're asking that because it was a little messed up at the beginning while I was waiting for him to come on, right? So are you saying just start it with the interview or just play the whole segment as is? All right, do that. That's fine. We'll make it work. It's the last segment of the show, and it's fine. No, it wasn't a disaster, and it didn't have anything dated in it. I didn't talk about the games, right? Yeah, make sure, as long as I didn't talk about the games that were going on right now, as long as I'm not talking about a game that's in, the fifth inning or something, then I'm fine with it. Yeah, just make sure. Thanks. Okay. We surge forward on this Friday edition of the show, just past the halfway point of a Friday cash-in. SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You could tweet at us as well at the back page. I love checking in with this guy every now and then. I always say I don't like to burn out like my favorite guests. Like there are people we get on, once a week or once every couple of weeks. This guy, I like to give him a little room to breathe because he's a busy guy. He's a national NFL guy, and those guys need their room because they got crazy lives covering this game every day. I mean, we spend 3 hours and maybe half the show or 70% of the show on the NFL. These guys are talking about it. They're living it and breathing it 24/7. Matt Verderam is one of my favorites. Fansided does a great job covering the NFL. Joins us here on the Cash and SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. We were just talking about it in the lead up to the segment off the air during the break. Best advice I ever got from a program director when I got into this business was never do the show during the break. So we were doing just that, but we could continue the conversation on the air. You were saying it, and I've said it too. I don't ever remember this mediocre of a year ever at this stage of the season in the history of my time watching the NFL.
No, I mean, I've been writing about the league for 10 years. I've been covering it nationally for 4. So obviously it's not, I'm not somebody who's covered the league since the 70s, but I also love the NFL's history and I'm very familiar with it. I can't recall a year, both since I've been alive or even beforehand, where you looked at the league and went, yeah, so 3 teams are really good. And then there's like a handful of teams that might get to that point. And then there's about 24 teams that are terrible. I mean, we really, like even Thursday Night Football, you're watching it, and it's the Bucs and the Ravens, 2 teams that matter. And the Buccaneers have lost 5 of 6. Brady, by Brady standards, looks borderline disinterested. They can't do anything offensively. Now defensively, Barrett's out for the year, and they can't stop the run all of a sudden. Carolina ran all over them. Kansas City ran all over them. Now Baltimore ran all over them. And then you look at Baltimore, and Baltimore's 5-3, and they've had a couple of nice wins. They've also had some really weird losses. They've won every game, and yet somehow they've lost 3 games. But I don't think you look at Baltimore and think to yourself, like, that's a Super Bowl team. Like, they're fine. They're going to win 10, 11 games. But I don't even think they're the best team in the division. Like, I think Cincinnati's got a better shot at making Buffalo or Kansas City sweat than Baltimore does. It's just a weird year in the NFL.
Yeah, it really is. But the crazy part is, and you talked about Baltimore, they could be 8-0 if not for some fourth quarter collapses. They could, right. And I know, look, Bill Parcells says it, you are what your record is, but they could be 8-0, legitimately. They
could. But, you're right. Like, I always go back and forth with people on this. And your point's well taken. Like, that's 100% true. But you could also sit there and say, yeah, well, it could be. But, some of these games that they've won, they could have easily lost to Cincinnati. They could have, and I think that's kind of the point.
They could have lost to the Browns. If not for an offensive pass interference against Amari Cooper, they lose to the Browns.
Right, they lose to them, and they blow another 10-point lead. And I think that, but see, I wrote about this on Monday in my Stack in the Box column over at Fansided. Look, the NFL intentionally pulls everybody to the middle, right? Everybody is supposed to be toward the middle because they want the most competitive game possible, which is a fantastic way to run a league because everybody has hope except for currently Denver. Okay, everybody has hope, and you move forward. But I think that's so true. Like this year, the only teams that you really could say, yeah, their records are not only very good, but they should be very good. Buffalo's been dominant most weeks. Philadelphia's clear and away been the better team most weeks. Kansas City, for the most part, has been, although even the Chiefs have a couple of games now. Like, they lost 2 games that they easily could have won. They also won a couple that easily could have lost. So you could say, well, their record's what it should be. But you get past those teams. Like Minnesota, to me, is a perfect example. Minnesota's 5-1. They have a 2.5 game lead in the division. And yet, I don't know one person that would say, yeah, you know who I feel really confident betting on in a playoff game? Minnesota. Could win the game, could lose to the Giants at home. But anything's in play. And I think that's kind of the story of the season so far.
I was talking about with my buddy Scott Seidenberg, who used to be over at Visa, and now he's with pregame.com working with RJ Bell's company. We had him on a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago. And we were talking about the Vikings as a case study at 5-1, and he said they have these weird gambling metrics where they have a luck factor and things like this. He said Minnesota could easily be 1-5 right now. They have not played up to 5-1 standards.
Well, if you've watched Minnesota, Minnesota easily could have lost to Detroit earlier this year. Then had a 21-3 lead against the Bears at home. Blew the entire lead and had to come back and hold on. Then played the Dolphins, missing half their team with a third-string quarterback, and barely won that game. So you look at them and you're like, I don't know what to make of that. Then you have the Giants who, listen, the Giants are having a great year. They're ahead of schedule. I love the coaching staff, all the rest of it. The Giants are 6-1. They beat the Titans, who missed a game-winning field goal or potential game-winning field goal at the gun week 1. Jacksonville was 3 feet away from winning last week, and what would have been just an absolute meltdown, but they couldn't cross the goal line. You know, you look at it's just the story of the league this year, and all these games. You know, look at to me, the Raiders are the opposite side of that. The Raiders are 2-4. I think the Raiders are good. But you know, they go into Arrowhead. They're up 17-0. Then they blow the lead, and then they have a chance to win it. And Adams gets called out on a controversial call on the sideline. And then the 4th down play, they throw it up there, and Adams and Renfro run into each other, and they lose. It's one of those years. I will say this, Jason. I think it's going to make for a phenomenal playoff because you're going to have these games where who knows who's going to win. Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting in that regard.
I was talking about this at the start of the show tonight. And I want to float it by you, and you could tell me I'm crazy or whatever, but maybe you'll agree with me and say I'm brilliant. And maybe somebody else has written this somewhere. I try not to look at what too much is out there because I don't want it really skewing my opinion on things before I come on the air. But the first thing I thought of this morning when I saw Tom Brady divorce Giselle was profound sadness because I know about divorce. I know what goes into it. It's awful. It's ugly. Even for rich people, it's still, there's just something very sad about the idea of divorce, especially after 13 years. We're not talking like Britney Spears when she divorced 3 months after she got married. I'm talking about a couple of, yeah, right. I mean, they've been together 13 years. The second thing that came to my mind though was, one, maybe Brady doesn't retire after this year. He doesn't want to go up. Maybe he doesn't want to go out this way with a subpar Buccaneers team and have that be the way his career ends. And if I follow that logic and say he's going to play next year, he's going to want to play somewhere where he's got a legit shot to win a Super Bowl. And then I said, oh my God, he's going to wind up in San Francisco with the 49ers. Am I crazy?
You're not crazy. I actually did this exercise like a week ago. And thought to I didn't write about it, but I thought about it. And I said, well, let's say he plays again. He's not going back to Tampa. That's not happening. So where would he go? I'll give you a team that I don't know if they do it, but it would be fascinating. What about the Giants?
Depends how the rest of the year goes with Daniel Jones. He's starting to improve. I don't think we can deny it.
I don't think we can either, but he's still, I'd still say he's a below average quarterback.
Really? You don't think he's average?
Yeah, I think if I do my quarterback rankings every week, and I have him 19 to 20, so I don't think he's way below average.
Yeah.
But I think he's just a guy. If Tom Brady called up Brian Dable, let's say the Giants went out, they get some more talent on the offense, get some weapons, and Brady called up Brian Dable and said, listen, Brian, I want to go there. I could be the difference. I mean, you're going to turn him down so you can have another year of Daniel Jones?
No, I get it.
Right? I mean, now the other side of this is, I just wonder with Brady, and I don't like to get into the whole personal side of things because I'm not a close confidant of Tom Brady, and right. I don't know his family life. I'm not going to pretend to. But look, we're all human. This obviously I'm sure is weighing on him significantly. This year, I said earlier, he just seems disengaged. Now, is that because of everything going on in his life? I don't know. Or is it, let's call a spade a spade. He does not want to be there. He was, by all reports, wanting to go to Miami. And that all fell apart. Comes back. He's got no choice. He wants to play if it's playing Tampa. It has been a train wreck. I think if I got even money on that he's going to retire, I think he probably will retire. But if he goes somewhere else, I don't know what the other options are. I mean, the Niners certainly are one of them.
That's a much closer, but I mean, as constituted now, that is a much closer to ready-made situation where he can walk in and that team wins a Super Bowl. I mean,
no doubt.
I mean, he's got Niners, Kittle. I mean, he's got another Gronk there in Kittle.
The Niners are definitely further along than the Giants. Nobody in their right mind would argue that. I just wonder if you're the Niners. You gave up 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. I mean, are you ever going to give him a shot? Obviously, they were going to this year and he got hurt. But, you're going to bring in Brady at that point, who is 46 years old, and just never put Trey Lance in there essentially on his rookie deal? Because that's where you're going with this. Like, I just think, like, if you're the Niners, maybe you do that if you just think Trey Lance isn't good.
But I'll ask you the same. But I'll ask you the same question. If Tom Brady calls Jed York and says, right, Jed, I want to be the quarterback of the 49ers, is he saying no because I want to start Trey Lance? And the answer is probably no.
I hear you. I mean, I guess for me, I don't disagree with you. The only difference I think is I would think, believe Trey Lance is the future. Now, if they don't think that, if they internally don't believe that, then I think absolutely. If they believe he is, at some point here, you just got to turn the page and say, okay, he's our guy. Jimmy's a free agent. We're moving on, so on and so forth. Whereas with Daniel Jones, I don't think he's the future. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I don't think he's the future there. I think they'll try to move off of him. But it's a weird situation because I don't know that there's really anywhere, like, there's just not a lot of spots. If you look around the league, you'd go, yeah, Brady'd be a great fit there. I mean, I know some people say, what about the Raiders? I mean, McDaniels, and they could move on from Carr because his contract is easily moved. You can move away from it. But, like, I don't know. I mean, if you're Brady, you're going to that conference. You're going to go try to beat the Chiefs and the Bills, like, with the Raiders. I mean, good luck to you. I don't think it's happening. So it's just, I think he's going to retire after this year. I think he's just done, and he'll go make $35 million a year in the booth at Fox. I think he can still play talent-wise. I just wonder if his heart's in it at this point.
I think for the right team, it is. I'm telling you, man. I think he's coming back. I think with his head clear of the whole divorce situation, and again, nobody. If he's hung around this long, and he can still make the throws and still find the windows and still has the arm strength. If he has all of that, I don't think he wants to go out this way. He doesn't want to be Willie Mays dropping fly balls in center field for the Mets at Shea Stadium. He doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, no, listen, you know what? I will say this for him. He physically can still do it. I mean, when Peyton Manning was getting ready to retire, he was just physically done. He could not throw the football anymore. His body basically made up the decision for him. I don't think anybody would argue that. Brady still has the physical gifts to go out and play at a really high level. I think you're right. I mean, San Francisco certainly, and obviously that was his boyhood team and everything else. And then I think the Giants would be interesting. I think the Raiders, like I said, because of McDaniels. Yeah. I mean, again, I know if you're Tom Brady, you're probably not thinking about it in terms of like, geez, well, I got to go over there and beat all those teams. But I think that would just be a rough road to hoe. I don't know that they'd be able to do it. And then, I mean, there's, of course, we want it to be in Miami, but at this point, I feel like that's kind of done, right? I mean, I don't think Miami's going to blow that whole thing up now to get him in there.
No, they're not. Not with what Tua is doing. Yeah, no, it is. Matt Verderam, national NFL writer, fan-sided. Check out his work there. It's fantastic. If you like the conversation, you'll like his work even more. Listen, always appreciate it, my friend. Thanks for joining me.
Anytime. Take care.
We'll come back and wrap up the hour next. wasn't enough to overturn it. So Altuve gets the stolen base, but boy, when I looked at the replay, I mean, this is what you have replay for, is to get it right, and I didn't think they got it right. Wow, diving play in right field to save the game for the Phillies. We're going to extra innings. Shallow fly ball to right field. Phillies get a diving catch out there by Nick Castellanos, I believe. And we will go to extra innings in Game 1 of the World Series. Stay with us. We'll have it covered for you in the next hour of the Cash In. I'm Jason Page. This is SportsMap Radio. Are you watching this game? Oh, my God. It's crazy. My big thing. Situation is lots of but it needs Who just hit that home run? Real Muto. Wow. Wow, they're going to steal game one. Final hour of a Friday/Saturday edition of the Cash In SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. Thank you, Chad Erickson, for loaning us your voice to introduce me. Wow. That's all I got to say about game one of the World Series. We got a series, folks. If you thought the Phillies were just going to roll over down 5-0 at in Houston for game one of the World Series, think again. JT Realmuto, a solo home run in the top of the 10th, gives the Phillies a 6-5 lead in game one of the World Series. Wow. Just going to say it again. Who picked Phillies in 6? This guy. Not celebrating yet. Game one ain't even over yet, but just saying. Just saying. What a wild game. They were down 5-0, then 5-3, then they tied it at 5. Bullpens did a great job on both sides. But, you know, look, this has to be said. If the Phillies win this game, this has to be said. If you are Justin Verlander and your team stakes you a 5-0 lead, you can't pitch as badly as he did. You can't do it. And he just didn't have an out pitch tonight. You know, against the Phillies' best, he just did not have an out pitch tonight. Wow. Are the Phillies going to steal game one on this Friday night? Wow. It's too bad people on the East Coast aren't seeing it because it's after midnight. Nice job, Major League Baseball. Let's start a game at 8:05. By the way, if your job is to sing the national anthem for the game, you got to get the words right. Did you see this? Talk about it on the other side. Best college football games of week 9. We'll have those for you. Later in the hour, Jamie Eisenberg on fantasy football. Stick around. More to do. Hi, guys.
Do you still want to go walk downtown?
I do.
Then I'll just take Dookie for a short one around the ground.
Boy, oh boy. So we're in a break right now on the nationally syndicated radio broadcast of our show. Be back in a moment, though. Thanks to those of you that are watching on the various streams that we are on: Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We're on all of them. I may narrow it down to just Twitch eventually. Let's see here.
Writer and co-founder of the Black Pumas Fan, Eric Burton.
One 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. If you want to tweet at us at the back page, hit me up on Twitter at the back page. If you want to watch the show, we're on twitch.tv/JasonPage77. Hello to those of you watching on the video side, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook. It's all different ways to watch. What a wild baseball game. 6-5 Phillies, top of the 10th. 2 outs, runner on second for the Phils. And they are on the verge of stealing game 1 of this World Series. And this would be stealing. They should wear a mask over their face. Because they were down 5-0 in this game. And I'm sure just about everybody had them left for dead. And they find themselves now just 3 outs away from getting game 1 of this World Series and sending Philadelphia into a frenzy. Again, considering where they were in this game. Coming up later in the hour, 27 minutes from now, in fact, Jamie Eisenberg, CBS Sports fantasy football expert. Conversation with him regarding this week 8 in fantasy football. Who do you start? Who do you sit? Who do you go and get in DFS? Bargains, who you paying up for? Where can you find a deal? All of that coming up. I was planning on having post-game sound from this game, but that's probably not going to happen because the game still isn't over. Like I said, this is one of those things, though, where Major League Baseball just Start the game at 7 p.m. I know you want the primetime audience and the ad dollars that come with it. I get it. But you have a game that starts at 8:08 or whatever, and now you're 4 hours deep, and it's after midnight on the East Coast and the game's still going on. You just can't do that on your biggest game, on your biggest stage. Imagine if the Super Bowl started at 9 o'clock. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense for a sport that's trying to grow its audience. And by the way, kudos to Dusty Baker for raising the alarm or sounding the alarm on the fact that there's no black Americans playing in this World Series. None. And look, baseball's tried to some degree, but not enough. Black Americans, what are they playing? Basketball, football. They're not playing baseball, though, that's for sure. That continues to be something that plagues this sport. The only dark-skinned people you see playing this game are the ones, by and large, coming from other countries. And people are talking about that, and it's a good thing they are. But they're talking about it, and then the game goes on, and then we're done talking about it, and then nothing changes. And next year we see the same thing. And the year after that, and the year after that. Best college games this weekend in college football. We haven't done a lot on college football this week. Call me when it's the playoffs, I guess, is my mentality. Ohio State, Penn State, obviously near the top of the list. Of course, Penn State doing what it did against Michigan kind of made you take them a little less seriously. But now here they are against number 2 Ohio State, and a chance to sort of spoil the season for the Buckeyes with a win for sure, and definitely throw the conference into chaos if they get a win against Ohio State. Well, not for Michigan anyway, who stays undefeated. Florida and number 1 Georgia, always one of the days you look at on the college football calendar. They call it the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. 2 rivals that are coming from very different spots right now on the football radar. You look at Georgia, still perfect on the season. The numbers speak for themselves. They're so good defensive. Their defense is allowing 9.1 points per game. They're molly. It's just, they're stomping everybody pretty much. So we'll see what happens in that game this weekend. Number 19, Kentucky. Undefeated Tennessee, who's 3rd in the nation right now. Again, I don't know how they're not higher with some of the games they have in terms of who they've beaten this year. A win over Alabama. But this week and next is certainly, where we're going to find out where the rubber meets the road. I got to say this. If Tennessee winds up winning this week and then is able to get another win somehow at Georgia, wow. It would be something. But that's asking a lot. That's why as great as this Tennessee story is, it just feels like with the schedule that's in front of them, there's going to be some bump in the road somewhere. Michigan State and Michigan. I know Mel Tucker's 2-0 against Michigan. Both times they were an underdog. I know a couple of years ago they were like a 3-touchdown underdog. But I don't think that's going to happen this time. If it does, Jim Harbaugh, well, I don't know what to do with them at that point. You got to win this game if you're Jim Harbaugh. You've got to win this game. Number 15, Ole Miss playing Texas A&M. That should be interesting as well. It'll be a fun weekend. It's actually one of those weekends where I'm kind of pumped up for college football. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter as well, at The Back Page. Again, on Twitter, at The Back Page, if you're looking to talk to us there. Are they still going in the top of the 10th? Astros still haven't ended this inning. Phillies lead the Astros 6-5. They now have runners on first and second. 0-2 count to Juan Segura. And 2 outs in the inning. So we'll see if the Astros can get this thing to the bottom of the 10th down by just a run, or if the Phillies are able to get a tack-on run that would certainly make things harder for the Astros in the ninth. I'm not sure who the Astros have coming up in the ninth. I'd have to go and look at it, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. Later in the hour, as I said, we will be joined by Jamie Eisenberg, CBS Sports Fantasy Football expert. My conversation with him, that's about 20 minutes from now here on the show. NBA, are we done in the NBA for the night? Going to assume we are. Late in the fourth, Blazers lead the Rockets 122-109. Blazers got bad news. They're going to be without Damian Lillard for 1 to 2 weeks because of a calf strain. Suns leading the Pelicans with 3:23 to go in the fourth quarter in Phoenix, 114-102. I'll be in Phoenix this time next week. Going to Phoenix for a bowling tournament. Can't wait. Suns lead the Pelicans tonight, 114-102. Nice start for the Suns. You know, when you consider, the year they came off last year, the disappointing way the season ended, they've come out this season and they're firing on all cylinders, about to improve to 4-1. I'll tell you, the Pelicans, you got to be able to play some defense. And that has certainly been one of the areas that they've struggled in. I still can't get over the fact that we're 6 games into the season, and I get it. I know teams, I say it all the time, teams don't know they suck early in the season. I say this all the time. Teams don't know they stink early on in the year, right? Jazz and the Spurs are both 4-2. And they're supposed to be the 2 worst teams in the league, arguably. And meanwhile, the Los Angeles Lakers, hey, I guess, you know what? Tank for Wembanyama if you're the Lakers. Lose all 82 of them. Go and get Victor Wembanyama. I mean, if you're the Lakers, maybe that's the approach at this point. I keep saying it. I think LeBron's going to ask for a trade. I think we're going to get to the deadline. They're going to be so bad that LeBron's going to say, trade me. Get something for me. Because this is I mean, obviously the composition of this team is not built to win in the Western Conference, and they're going to have to deal him. Get something for him and give yourselves a chance to start the rebuilding process. All right, maybe you rebuild it around Anthony Davis. Find a taker for Russell Westbrook and start rebuilding this thing in LA, because obviously it's, as currently comprised, it cannot succeed. I know it sounds crazy to say that 5 games into the year, and I'm not usually the guy that is prone to hyperbole, but the Lakers right now, they're irretrievably broken. It's not fixable. And this is not where LeBron should be right now. They're averaging 102 points a game. And that's the lowest in the Western Conference. Matter of fact, that's the worst in the NBA. Through 5 games, they are averaging less points than anybody in the league. The funny part is the only team averaging less is the Clippers at 102.6. Amazing. All right, I said you got to do it right if you're doing the national anthem. I mean, look, it's not an easy song to sing. I get it. You got to have a lot of range, ups and downs. It's not an easy song. The national anthem is not easy to sing. I have a lot of respect for people who give it a shot. But the one thing you can't screw up is the words. Yep. It happened tonight at the World Series. We'll let you hear it for yourself. We'll update you on the Astros and Phillies as well as we continue on the cash-in. I'm Jason Page. This is SportsMap Radio.
National Anthem. Please welcome from Austin, Texas, 6-time Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, and co-founder of the Black Pumas Band, Eric Burton. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Yordan Alvarez swinging a miss, out number one in the bottom of the 10th for the Astros. We're down to their final 2 outs in Game 1 of the World Series after leading 5-0 at home in Game 1 with Justin Verlander on the mound. They are on the verge of dropping Game 1 to the underdog Phillies. Underdog to everybody but me because I predicted a Phillies 6-game win. I said the Phillies would win the World Series in 6, and they're on their way to taking Game 1. Alex Bregman, the next to last hope potentially for the Astros. So maybe it was an omen. Maybe it was a harbinger of things to come tonight. When Eric Burton was getting ready to sing the national anthem, and they rolled out the big giant American flag out in the outfield, and Eric Burton gets up, and, well, I don't know about hitting the notes, but you got to be able to hit the lyrics of the national anthem.
What so proudly we held at
Wait, hold on. Did he say Twilight's last streaming? I mean, you got to know the words. And maybe you're nervous. I mean, you're singing in front of, there's probably 6 million people watching this game. 40,000 people in the stadium. I mean, if you're not sure of the words, put them in front of you. Nobody's going to see it anyway. You got a big old iPhone or something, just put the lyrics in front of you. Twilight's last what? Did he say? Yeah. Oh, boy. All right, so he makes one mistake. It could happen. Anything could happen. Everybody can make one mistake, right? Those broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight would so proudly we hailed. Oh no. At the twilight's last streaming. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. That's enough of that. We don't need to hear any more of that. Wow. Oh boy. Well, kids seen better days, right? And you know what? You don't really usually get another shot at that when you kind of screw it up that bad, do you? You don't usually get another chance at it. The only thing I could think of, you know where I'm going with this, right? The only thing I could think of is like Enrico Palazzo. Do we have a little Enrico Palazzo? There we go. Give me a little Enrico Palazzo if we could do that. Here.
Let us honor America as Mr. Palazzo will now sing our national anthem. Ocean, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail in the twilight's black gleaming, whose bright stripes and broad stars in the perilous night on our ramparts we walk.
There we go. This is the best part. I mean, Eric Burton would have been better off just going da 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 da. Oh, unreal. Nothing beats Leslie Nielsen as Enrico Palazzo as Frank Drebin in The Naked Gun, though. And that's just great. We have more? We have more? He just made up the words as he went along. Leslie Nielsen, one of a kind. Rest in peace, man. So the Astros are threatening. Runner on second, bottom of the 10th, 2 outs, trailing the Phillies 6-5. Yuli Gurriel is the last hope for the Astros. You knew there was going to be some drama here. And former Yankee, how funny is this? Rob Thompson is the interim, now permanent manager of the Phillies. How many times did he watch David Robertson probably close games for the Yankees, and now he's watching David Robertson try to close out Game 1 of the World Series against the Astros? I mean, baseball's got this weird way, man. Always has. Baseball has this weird way of bringing guys together that have played together, or manager and player and that sort of thing, and that's what you got right now in the bottom of the 10th inning with Yuli Gurriel trying to extend this game. Runner on second base, and he's one of the best hitters Certainly one of the best hitters in baseball, really. The guy is amazing plate coverage. He can get to any ball, anywhere. I mean, there's a reason the Astros are in this position, folks. I know everybody likes to get in on the cheating thing, and it's fair to critique them for what happened in 2017, but at the same time, you got to give them their due for where they are right now and what they've done over the last 4 years. I mean, all these trips to the World Series, and yeah, it does feel a little like the Braves in that they get there but can't win. You know, the Braves won one World Series with all those great teams they had. It was against the Blue Jays. But it is it's amazing you really have to marvel at what the Astros have built. And you know, they lose a guy like Carlos Correa and don't even miss a beat with Jeremy Pena being as good as he has been at the shortstop position this year. So Gurriel walks first and second now in the bottom of the 10th with 2 outs. And David Robertson just giving you a heart attack right now if you're a Phillies fan. And you know, again, here's Trey Mancini, who played his whole career with the Baltimore Orioles and never had a chance to really win anything there. Gets traded at the deadline to the Astros, and one of the real class acts in baseball. Survived a bout with cancer a few years back. One of the real class acts in the game, and here he is. The game always just manages to find you in these moments. Comes down to Trey Mancini, first and second, 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th, with the Phillies leading the Astros 6-5. It's just, again, it's one of the beautiful things about baseball. You got to kind of breathe in these moments if you're a fan of the game. So we're keeping tabs on it. We'll let you know what happens on the other side of the break. We'll also have a conversation coming up with Jamie Eisenberg, who does a great job on fantasy football for CBS Sports. Stick around for that. We continue on this Friday edition of The Cash In. I'm Jason Page. Good to have you with us on SportsMap Radio. Oy vey. David Robertson giving Philadelphia a heart attack right now. All right, so you've got the interview, right? All right, thanks. I'll talk to you in 20. All right. Just about time to wrap up the show. For those of you watching on Twitch or on any of our other video streams that we're on, thanks for watching tonight. We're here Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific. And you can listen to the show on SportsMap Radio, or you can watch us on Twitch on this channel. Also on YouTube, our Decibel 88 channel, as well as our Facebook Decibel 88 channel. On Twitter, at the back page, I'm there. A lot of ways to sort of take in the show. So, and if you're not following us, make sure to follow us here on Twitch. I think eventually everything's going to move to Twitch and YouTube, or just Twitch. I haven't decided yet. But we're just about done for this week. We'll come back and wrap up the show here in a minute. Still can't believe the Phillies won that game. Crazy. By the way, if you love fantasy sports, make sure to check out the Jock MKT app. See at bottom of the corner over there. Make sure to try it out. JockMKT.com or the Jock MKT app. You get a 100% deposit bonus when you use my promo code CASHIN on your first deposit. And you get your first market risk-free. So if you go and get some players and it doesn't work out well, you get refunded up to $100. So it's a good deal. Try it out. JockMKT.com, my promo code CASHIN. Check out Jock MKT if you haven't done it yet. Offering live daily markets for sports. Let you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, all for real money. And each share has a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Instead of drafting a whole fantasy team, just get a player or two that you really like. They're legal in 36 states with more to come. NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, PGA, and NASCAR. Head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com. Deposit with the code CASHIN to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. And your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. jockmkt.com or the Jock MKT app. Wow. Phillies beat the Astros in 10, 6-5. Wild ending to that game. Hit by pitch. Not awarded first base. Diaz was pinch hitting for Mancini. He leaned into it. Umpire made him stay there. He grounds out to end the game with runners on second and third. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the football. We'll catch you back here on Monday for another edition of The Cash-In. Nice job, Austin Rodriguez. I'm Jason Page. The Cash-In on SportsMap Radio. Have a great weekend. Bye. Austin, you got everything for the podcast? Brady and the 2 interviews. I'll send you real quick the title and description. All right. Thank you. All right. For those of you watching on the video stream, that's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We're here Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern time. All the games, all the sports betting information, interviews, top stories. It's great. Thanks for watching tonight. I'll see you back here next week. Bye.